Hello, hello. Welcome back to Ask a LinkedIn Girly. In today's episode, I'm going to be brutally crashing out. Calling this one the Great Crash Out of 2026 because if there's a greater crash out in 2026, I won't even know what to say. The reason behind this great crash out is for any of you who've been watching, you might know. Probably not, actually. I haven't even said it out loud yet. And for people who haven't been watching, I'll give you some context. The LinkedIn Sprint is my primary offering. I've really put all of my eggs into one basket here because my intuition told me to. So let's get back to Miss Intuition later. We're going to talk to her. But, anyways, the LinkedIn Sprint was a group program to talk about creative LinkedIn strategy, work together in community to grow on LinkedIn for solopreneurs, creative consultants. Anyways, that was my main thing, okay? I was about to run the third cohort of it, the first in 2026, and I had a whole plan for my business in 2026, my whole income plan, how I was going to divvy things up. And anyways, it all revolved around the sprint. Like everything fed into the sprint. And I put a lot into this launch. I mean, the launch of the third cohort, the promotion period of the third cohort, which I feel like I put a lot into every promotion period of every cohort. But anyways, okay, I put a lot into this. I even added new resources, whatever. Registrations closed last weekend. 0 signups. 0. 0. I don't know why I did the numbers like that, but big zeros all around. 0 paid signups. I did get a lot of scholarship applications, which is what made me confident. Like the scholarship applications were rolling in, and I was like, oh, people are really interested in this. I didn't even consider that no one would pay for it. And it's been paid for in the past, so I don't know. But completely was banking on that for my income, to be completely honest. Um, Now I'm just gonna get like a part-time job for now. I mean, I think that's like fine. I've had plenty of part-time jobs in my life, plenty of like less than ideal situations. So I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is a less than ideal situation, boo hoo, as I cried all day Friday, as I knew that like registrations weren't coming in. I'm not gonna be like boo hoo. No, I was boo hoo all Friday. And then I spent the rest of the weekend looking up motivational quotes, hanging on by a thread, just grasping for anything that could be of comfort. So, anyways, feeling really good, feeling really, really good about all of this. Okay, so yeah, I should have opened with this, but I guess the larger theme here is like, okay, what do you do if you're a solopreneur and an offering just like doesn't sell? Like, what do you do if you pour your heart and soul into something and it just doesn't work? What do you do when you like lose clients? Because I'll tell you, I've had clients who situations were out of my control. Like, I was managing someone's LinkedIn and she ended up getting a full-time job as a CEO, like this just awesome position. And she was like, I'm not trying to like do personal branding anymore because I'm not freelance, I'm not consultant, I'm full time. And I wasn't gonna sit there and be like, let me manage your LinkedIn profile, even though you're full time and you already reached the goalpost. Like, I'm not an objection handler, and that could be a reason for some of this. Is like, we'll talk more about this later, but I hate like objection handling. Like, if someone says, "Oh no, I don't need the service," to me, that's a line in the sand. Like, I don't understand the sales thing. I mean, maybe I'm coming around to it because I'm going absolutely bankrupt, so maybe I see why people do this, but the sales thing that's like, well, if someone says they don't have the money, convince them of the value. If someone says they don't have the time, convince them of the time. Like the objection handling, I literally can't do that. I just, not only does it make me uncomfortable on a surface level, I honestly kind of think it's wrong. I don't like it. Could be right in some circumstances, but I don't know because I've honestly had some situations where a recent situation I was in where I was like contracting and this person that I was contracting for had like gotten good at sales and was locking people into a 12-month contract, and it was pretty clear to me. This is like when I left, okay? This is going to sound messed up. But this is like literally when I left. Is because it was becoming clear to me that this person that I was contracting for was like objection handling, getting people into a 12-month contract. and the people in the 12-month contract weren't going to renew. Like they wanted to leave and we're stuck in this contract. And that's when I left because I was like, okay, you can say that's just business, but I don't know. Especially because I'm contracting as a marketer, right? So it's like, okay, I'm marketing your service where you're locking people into a contract after like objection handling and doing a sales call. And now they're in this long contract despite maybe not wanting to be in it, and it's an expensive contract. Like I was like, that amongst other things was enough to make me be like, okay, I genuinely am walking away. And I will say too, even even though I am on the verge of who knows what, like I have literally no money right now, and I'm not complaining, you guys. I'm just being honest and transparent. I know a ton of you don't have money. You told me when I tried to sell you the LinkedIn Sprint. So, whatever, we can just admit that. I think the economy's bad. I don't know. But whatever. I honestly, I will say too, I personally don't think that there's any like virtue in having or not having money. Personally. Like, I just don't think that having money means that you're smart and a good person, and not having money means that you're not or that you are. Like, I just don't think money and virtue should really be tied together. I don't think having or not having really makes a difference personally. But anyways, okay, despite being in this compromised situation where I might have to go waitress or something, God forbid, I don't regret getting out of like certain bad situations that maybe would have been better paying or could have been more stable, or certain client work. Like any situation that I've ever left, I'm glad that I left. Any client situation that ever didn't work out, whether it was because they moved on and got a new job, or I moved out of town and it didn't work anymore when we weren't local, or like any situation, I don't know. All this to say, I really like have no regrets. Other than putting all my eggs in one basket with the Sprint thing. I don't even know if I would say I regret that, because I think if I hadn't done it, I would always wonder what if, genuinely. I know that sounds cheesy, but I really do think had I not put all my eggs in one basket and had I taken on another fractional role or a part-time freelance gig alongside the Sprint, I think I would have been resentful towards that role, because I would have been like, this is the reason I'm not succeeding with the Sprint, because I'm not putting all my energy into it and it's holding me back, when really the Sprint just isn't working because of God knows what, actually, but it's just not working because it's not working. And I had to learn that kind of the hard way, I think. I genuinely do think that in a way, like I think there's a reason for everything, or that you can make it a reason for everything. Like I think you can spin things. And to me, I am already starting to see a lot of reasons for this. And I don't want to come across like toxic positivity, too much over optimistic. Because I'm telling you, like I literally cried all day Friday. So it's not that. I'm not in like denial about the fact that obviously the situation is not good. However, there are a lot of things that I think I've learned from this, and a lot of things that I think are good. One, I've learned. Oh, this isn't something I've learned actually. This is something that's just happening. When I was leading up to the LinkedIn Sprint and I made this whole plan for 2026 about my business being built around this offering, the LinkedIn Sprint, everything was going to support that. Like literally everything. My entire 2026 business plan was everything funnels into the Sprint. The podcast, the content, getting people to know me, going to the LinkedIn Girlies Lounge, community building, it all funnels back to the Sprint. And I feel like now, if I take the income pressure off, remove the Sprint from the picture, and I'm just having some random gig, whether it's waitressing or being a barista or whatever, then I can actually let the podcast and the content and all of those things just exist, and I can have a lot more fun with them than I was when I was kind of viewing them as a funnel and as a way to build authority and get people in the Sprint. Like, I think this can all be more of a hobby than a business. And I wanted it to be a business. I wanted to make a living, obviously. Like, I still want to be creatively fulfilled and ideally one day make money through my creative strategy, content creation pursuits, like all that stuff. Yeah, that would obviously be ideal. But also, everything happens in time. And I am only 23. So probably we should chill out. I think the reason that I expect so much from myself is because I've kind of fast tracked through a lot of aspects of life. Like, I won't even get into it, but I graduated college when I was 19. And, I moved across the country when I was 17 by myself with my sister. But, like an adult, even though I was not legally that, I was behaving that way. So, anyways, I think sometimes I forget that I'm like young, and even if you're not young and you're in a situation like this, who cares? Literally, to me, it's just romanticize it in your head. Like, I just think, okay, being broke is kind of funny. And it's kind of like grunge Tumblr 2014 core, like the 1975. The 1975 definitely was not broke. Obviously, they were doing pretty well, but they were playing into the broke aesthetic. So I think if you can find those really weird ways to romanticize being broke, that's a good thing. That's terrible advice. Scratch that. I shouldn't even be giving advice. Anyways, what was I saying? Okay, so now that I'm doing these things as a hobby, I do feel like I can be more like unhinged and more personal with it. And it doesn't need to be a instructional advice giving thing. I can just talk about my experiences and I can be really honest because I know that it's not going to be monetized because I've tried that and it didn't work. And I know you guys might be thinking, oh, well, maybe it was just like the sprint. Like maybe it was just the fact that it was too long or that it was a group. I don't know because I've tried other things. Like I've tried for a little while. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but for a little while I was like, okay, I'll do one-on-one sessions. And okay, sure, I didn't really push it, but I did talk about it quite a bit. No, never happened. Never booked a single one. I, again, I have some digital products I've never really pushed, but I just don't think it's gonna happen. The LinkedIn Girlies Lounge is one thing that's like solid. I'm not making very much money from that at all right now, but I do feel like that is one thing that's like semi-working. Anyways, join us. I'm like, yeah, this is like semi-working. Join us. I just butchered that. I mean, I think the actual group is working. I just mean it's not really like selling right now. It's no one's ever left it, to be honest. How long has it been going for? I don't know, but no one's ever left. Sometimes people just like don't come to meetings for a while, but no one's ever left, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if it's that crazy. Anyways, let's just move on from that. I think what's fun and cool about this is I can bring whatever aspects of it I want to into it. I don't need to be as like strategic anymore. I don't need to cover specific topics. I don't need to niche down. I feel like I can just branch out and make this as creative and funky as I want it to be. And I'm ready to lean more into the things that I've previously worried would prevent me from making money, if that makes sense. Like, okay, so I'm 23 and I already said that. Never used to talk about my age because one, I just like genuinely don't think it matters in a way. And two, I was like, well, people probably aren't going to pay to do services with a 23-year-old. Was my thought. I was like, well, people might feel weird about taking advice from a 23-year-old. People might feel weird about paying a 23-year-old, which is like one, probably a misconception, maybe. Two, well, no one's paying me anyways. So we can talk about being 23. And what else? Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just ready to like take the pressure off of this whole operation and move on. Not like move on. I enjoy LinkedIn very much. That's obviously why I talk about LinkedIn strategy and creative expression on LinkedIn. And I love podcasting, if that's what you want to call this. I love speaking. So I'll continue to do this just for fun. Probably even more than I was before because I'm letting myself talk about whatever I want. Like I'm going to do, or not I'm going to, I might do an episode on even like my upbringing and what it was like to grow up in such an artistic, eccentric home, what it was like to grow up performing. Because I can't remember if I talked about this today already or not, but that's a thing. Like, I grew up performing basketball tricks. I can dribble 4 basketballs at once. And I grew up like balancing on a board and dancing and doing all these things. Aside my mom and my sisters, and very creative, very artistic upbringing where we were like literally painting on the walls. Like we were allowed to just paint on the walls, do whatever. My mom painted our whole house like red overnight one time, like the inside and the outside, like the door, but the fridge, the cabinets, the stairs, like everything painted the same shade of bright red. So it's just, I don't know, stuff like that. That's literally tip of the iceberg. But I kind of want to talk about how that has shaped me and how I show up and how I like express myself creatively. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's an interesting topic. There's so many things I want to talk about actually. Like I also, this is so out of bounds, and that's the thing too. Before this whole ordeal flopped, I was gonna have an out of bounds segment. So this whole podcast was gonna be about LinkedIn strategy specifically, and I was gonna have an out of bounds segment at the end where I could rant about whatever I wanted that had nothing to do with LinkedIn. Now that I know no one's paying me for LinkedIn strategy anyways, this whole podcast is going to be out of bounds. Like, yes, I'll talk about LinkedIn strategy because I love that, but I'm not going to force myself to talk about that. And I'll talk about random things. Like, I want to talk about the beauty industry, and I do want to talk about like B2B creators. What else? Yeah, there's a lot. I still want to talk about content planning stuff too, like alternative ways to plan your content. But yeah, there will probably be more personal stuff, more hot takes, probably more humor. This episode wasn't very humorous because I'm crashing out, like I said. Um, but in the future, I would like to incorporate more of my humor into this. Well, actually, I don't even know if this is obvious, but I love humor. I love comedy so much. And I want to explore that more as well, which is a whole nother can of worms we can talk about. We can talk about all of my various forms of hobbies and creative expression, creative outlets another time. I'm not going to get into that right now. But, anyways, all this to say, things are going to get crazy. Everything that I've ever said, erase that from your memory because the plans have changed a little bit. And also just know that there won't really be any call to actions anymore because I've realized you guys are a bunch of freeloaders. I don't know if that's a bad word, maybe that's an offensive phrase, but like I'm a freeloader, to be honest. Like that's why I really actually get it. Like I'm joking about the freeloaders thing. I am such a freeloader. Like I am so resistant to purchasing. So, anyways, yeah, it's all good, you guys. We're chill, we're good, and sorry if this was negative, but also not sorry because that's literally life. And I want to do these more often, and I don't want them to be censored where it's like I only do these when I'm in a super good mood, or I only do these when I know exactly what I'm going to say. I only do these when I have a concept planned out. I actually want to do these more frequently and have it just be kind of like a string of consciousness so that it can get better and really explore what kind of topics you guys like. Like maybe you like it when I'm upset and ranting. Maybe you do like it when I'm super prepared and I have a whole concept laid out. Maybe you like it when I'm reading from my notes. I don't know. So I'm just going to experiment and try all kinds of different things and see what people like. And also what I like, you know, it's not all about you guys. Just messing, just messing. So anyways, probably talk very soon again because I have nothing better to do. I'm not running a sprint, so probably I'll be right here with this microphone. What a way to end. I don't know. Thank you for watching. Talk soon.